The First Lady and the U.S. Surgeon General, Dr. Vivek Murthy, will visit a pediatric COVID-19 vaccination clinic at Franklin Sherman Elementary School in McLean, Virginia, the first school to administer the polio vaccine in 1954. A fun fact. Coupled with First Lady's push on Monday, Secretaries Becerra and Cardona sent a Dear Colleague letter to school superintendents and elementary school principals across the nation to take a series of steps to encourage children vaccinations, including by holding vaccination clinics at schools, hosting community conversations with pediatricians about the importance of vaccinations for children, and to answer parents' questions about the vaccine, and providing parents with trusted information about the vaccine as well. The administration is also encouraging districts across the country to set up school-located vaccine clinics by using their American Rescue Plan funds to help operationalize these clinics, and by using providers through the federal retail pharmacy program to administer a vaccine. With that, Z, go for it.
Thanks, Karine. We heard some initial White House response to the Fifth Circuit staying the OSHA rule, the vaccine or test mandate that was to kick in, really take effect at the very beginning of next year. Is the White House concerned that the legal wrangling surrounding that rule could delay the implementation of that? And what's the administration's message to businesses and Americans, who are subject to that rule?
So broadly speaking, at least on the confidence, defending a policy is not a new thing from an administration, regardless if it's a Republican or a Democrat administration. This is something that happens all the time. The administration clearly has the authority to protect workers, and actions announced by the president are designed to save lives and stop the spread of COVID-19. And as DOJ said, they will be defending these lawsuits. But I also want to step back for a second, because there is precedent here. The Department of Labor has a responsibility to keep workers safe and the legal authority to do so. The Secretary of the Department of Labor determines workers at risk, or what is called the grave danger. And if you look around, and if we really zero in this past year, more than 750,000 people have died of COVID. You have approximately 1,300 people a day who continue to die a day, as I said, from COVID. If that's not a grave danger, I don't know what else is, right? So I want to be really clear as well, is that the Congress empowered OSHA through a law that has been in the books for more than 50 years. So this is an authority that we believe that the Department of Labor has. We are very confident about it, and just to say, this is about keeping people safe in the workplace, and it's critical and it's important to do, and so that's the message that we want to send out.
And let's simply to a business owner who sees the headlines that the rule's been stayed now. Should they prepare their employees now to get vaccinated, or should they wait while this law is put out?
No, that's a great question. I appreciate the question. We think people should not wait. We say do not wait to take actions that will keep your workplace safe. It is important and critical to do, and waiting to get more people vaccinated will lead to more outbreaks and sickness. So this is about keeping people in a workplace safe. And what we're seeing is more businesses and school closures and most lost jobs, and keep us stuck in a pandemic that we're trying to end. We do not want that to happen. We're trying to get past this pandemic, and we know the way to do that is to get people vaccinated. So people should not wait. They should continue to move forward and make sure that they're getting their workplace vaccinated.
And just follow up on Caitlin's question to Secretary Buttigieg earlier. What will the president's sales pitch look like on the infrastructure bill when he signs it? Is he going to be traveling? Is he going to be sending his cabinet out there, and particularly at this time, given the lessons learned from the Affordable Care Act and other Democratic priorities, the importance of actually going out and selling it, how important does the president believe that his voice out there talking about the benefits of that bill will be to his legacy?
Well, it's critically important, and you've traveled with us. We've been across the country, in different regions of the country, where the president has talked about his economic policy, Build Back Better Act, and the bipartisan infrastructure, and it's critical. This is a once in a generation investment investment that the president talks about. We talk about, I mean, this is one of the reasons we had Secretary Buttigieg here, is to have that conversation and continue to talk about the key components in here, which is the roads and also, let's not forget, climate change and the bridges and the ports, all of the things that we need to make sure that there are good paying union jobs, and make sure that we are investing in our country, make sure that we are competitive with China. So the president's going to continue to have those conversations, continue to hear from him. He will travel and make sure that, to your point, the American people hear directly from him about the importance. But also, you'll have the cabinet secretaries out there, you'll have his White House officials out there. And so it is important to sell this, but for the people to understand that this is going to make a transformational change in their lives, an investment that we haven't seen in my whole entire lifetime. And it's going to be critical and important.
Thanks, Karine. The president has indicated that he will be making a decision on the Fed chair soon. He appears to have interviewed 2 candidates. Can you give us an update on anyone else he's interviewing and give us any sense more on the timeline?
So I cannot confirm any interviews that he may or may not have had. Somebody asked me about this on Friday. Look, I mean, the president spoke to this last week. You were with us in both Scotland and in Rome, where he was asked that question. I believe in Scotland he was asked that question during his press conference. And so I don't have any announcements for you today. The president will continue to engage with his senior economic team in a careful and thoughtful process to appoint a Federal Reserve chair. And that's all I have for you today, Jeff.
One other topic. The president's and the vice president's poll numbers have been falling. How big of a concern is that for this White House, particularly with an eye towards the midterm elections just a year from now?
Are you talking about a particular poll?
No.
No, just in general? So, look, one of the things that I want to say is, like, we are confident that our policies will improve the lives of nearly every American. And so grow our economy and create jobs. That's our focus, to make sure that we continue to push the president's economic policies. And, look, polls are all over the map, and that's not going to be our focus right now. The president was also asked this last Tuesday, and he wants to make sure that we deliver for the American public, and that is what we're going to focus on. And also, like, poll after poll, including the poll that you may be thinking of, or other polls that are out there, has showed us the components of the bipartisan infrastructure deal and the Build Back Better framework are very popular. And that's important to note. And American families want to see these historic investment in infrastructure. They want to see it in care. They want to see in competitive. They want to see in this addressing the climate crisis. And so that's what we're seeing, and that's what matters as we're moving forward, is delivering for the American public.
Thank you. To follow up on what Jeff and Sabrina were trying to ask the Secretary, the President said Americans would feel the impact of the projects within 2 to 3 months, but I didn't hear a single specific project that will be launched. So has the administration identified any?
I don't have anything, and I don't have anything to announce as to any specifics. We'll have more on the implementation of this as the days go by, the weeks go by, and so stay tuned. We'll have a lot more to share. But as you can imagine, implementing this is critical and important to us. If you look at the American Rescue Plan, which we believe was a success, that's one of the reasons we saw the job numbers that we saw on Friday, with 531,000 jobs in the last month. So we want to continue making sure that we deliver, and so just like we did with the American Rescue Plan, we'll make sure to do this with the bipartisan infrastructure framework as well.
For so long, you and President Biden have talked about the urgency of passing this bill. Now it's passed, so why is he waiting to sign it? And when will he sign it?
So he talked about this on Saturday. He basically said he wants to make sure the congressional members who worked very, very hard on this, when they come back, then we'll figure out a time to sign it. But you're right, it's urgent, but we also want to make sure that the people who spent the last couple of weeks, last couple of months just all in delivering on this promise are here for the signing as well.
So do you have a date in mind?
I do not have a date, but it will be very soon.
And then turning to reconciliation, does President Biden believe Congress should wait for a CBO score to vote on it or not?
Well, here's the thing. As you know, Weijia, and I talked about this probably on Thursday, probably on Friday, I can't remember now. But as you know, we put forward our score. We put forward through the Treasury. There was a Treasury blog. There was also the JCT that put out a number as well, which was the kind of the first part before the CBO puts out their number. And we said that there's more. It's going to be more than paid for. I believe our number was 2.1 trillion, and so we are confident that this is going to be paid for. We are confident that it will add $0 to the deficit. Moody's has said this as well, and other economists have said this, and so we're going to continue to move forward, and that's why we wanted to be transparent, which is why we worked across agencies, across the administration, to make sure that we put out a number to show that it could be raised.
So he wants them to use that number or wait for the
No,
CBO?
well, we just wanted to make sure that, again, we were transparent. We put out what we thought it would be raised, and so that's what we put out there last week.
Thank you. The Energy Secretary says about the cost of Americans heating their homes in the winter, it will be more expensive this year than last year. So why is the administration now considering shutting down the Line 5 pipeline from Canada to Michigan?
So, Peter, that is inaccurate. That is not right. So any reporting indicating that some decision has been made, again, is not accurate. But what I will say is, I'll lay this out for you for a little bit here. Where we are is with this is that Canada has decided to invoke the dispute resolution provisions of the 1977 Transit Pipelines Treaty. We expect that both the U.S. and Canada will engage constructively in those negotiations. In addition to being one of the closest allies, Canada remains a key U.S. partner in energy trade, as well as efforts to address climate change and protect the environment. I will also add this too, is that the current Line 5 pipeline is subject to litigation between Enbridge and the state of Michigan. So again, it is inaccurate what you just stated.
What's inaccurate?
But the reporting about us wanting to shut down the Line 5.
I said, is it being studied right now? Is the administration studying the impact of shutting down the Line 5?
Yes,
So-
we are.
So then what's inaccurate?
Well, I thought you were saying that we were going to shut it down, but that is not inaccurate. Okay, great. But the Army Corps of Engineers is preparing an environmental impact to look through this.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then now that the president is on the record as of Saturday supporting compensation for illegal immigrants who are separated from family at the border, who counts as separated? If somebody was just separated for a few hours or a few days, would they be eligible to settle a suit and get this payment from DOJ?
So, Peter, I will direct you to the Department of Justice for any specifics on that. You've asked us this question, we have answered it, and I will refer you to the Department of Justice on any specifics.
Great detail, though, about the policy. So if he can answer it, I'm curious. Going back to 2018, some illegal immigrants were given a choice: get deported alone or get deported with their kids. If somebody chose to be separated, chose to go back by themselves without their family, would they be eligible to settle one of these lawsuits?
Peter, I'm going to refer you to Department of Justice. I don't have anything more to say, and I'm going to move on, okay? All right, thank you. Go ahead, Caitlin.
Is the White House's assessment still that Democrats should be able to pass the second piece of this legislation, the Build Back Better agenda, by Thanksgiving?
So we're going to work very hard to make sure that this gets done. As you know, on Friday, the House voted on a rule to make sure that on the week of November 15th, that it moves forward out of the House. And so we're going to just continue. The president on Friday was, burning the phone lines and calling members. Clearly, I'm not going to get into specifics on private conversations, but making sure that the support was there to move that out of the House. And so we're just going to continue to do that, have conversations with members of the House, and the Senate, clearly, and that'll be on the president's level and also staff level. But I don't have any specifics there, but that is our plan, to try and get this out as soon as possible.
So is Thanksgiving, though, generally the timeline?
I don't have a timing for you. I'm just saying that we're going to work really hard to get it done. It's going to go for a vote out of the week of November 15th out of the House, and then we're going to work with Leader Schumer to make sure that it gets done.
Okay, and on what the Secretary General, what she was saying yesterday, what options besides tapping the Strategic Petroleum Reserve does the president have to counteract higher gas prices?
So, I've talked about this a couple of times. We don't have an announcement yet on anything to share at this time. But we're monitoring it, right? We're monitoring the prices, and we're making sure that we have tools in our tool belts that we can try and use. But at this time, I don't have anything new to share.
What else are you reviewing? Because Secretary Granholm has confirmed that is an option that's on the table, and the president has said there are other tools that he could potentially use. So could you just lay out what those other options are that he's considering?
So I don't have anything specific here. The president spoke to this recently, but he's also asked FTC to crack down on illegal pricing, right? That is one thing that he did on gouging in the market, and the FTC is responding. But also we're going to continue to monitor the situation and have a number of tools in our arsenal, as I just mentioned. I don't have anything specific.
Thanks, Karine. We know President Biden signed an executive order on September 9th that requires White House and agency employees to be fully vaccinated by the November 22nd. We know that a person needs 2 weeks after their last shot to be considered protective, so that means that workers would have to be vaccinated by the end of today. So do you have an estimate of how many in the federal workforce are on track to meet these requirements?
So agencies will release their vaccination rates once they complete their process. But I just wanted to say vaccine requirements, as we all know, as we've talked about here, work. We already know the Department of Defense is at 97% of their active duty troops vaccinated, and we're seeing strong compliance across the federal government. Tens of thousands of federal workers get vaccinated each week. Additionally, agencies are moving forward in real time with collecting vaccination and compliance data. And as expected, numbers continue to rise as we approach the deadline and more federal employees input their documentation. So federal workers have until November 22nd to get vaccinated. And as we have made clear, the deadline is not a cliff. For employees in compliance, they will go through education, counseling, accommodations, and enforcement as it's standard to their agency. But again, agencies will release their own numbers.
And we guys like them to be transparent about that, releasing the data?
Oh, absolutely. They will be transparent.
Can you, just following up on the Line 5 thing, you said the Army Corps of Engineers is studying the prospect of closing it or just studying it genuinely?
So happy to. So the Army Corps of Engineers is preparing an environmental impact statement on Line 5 and the construction of that replacement line. So that is at issue here. The EIS will help inform any additional action or position the U.S. will be taking on the replacement of Line 5. This is consistent with the President Biden's commitment that every infrastructure project, potential pipelines very much included, must undergo a full and fair review that considers the environmental impact that those projects would have. And so, any other further information on that, I would refer you to the Army Corps of Engineers.
The administration is waiting on the result of
We're
the
waiting,
review.
right? There's a review, and we're waiting.
Going back to the Fed question
Yep.
earlier, one of the members of the board announced his resignation today. Do you have any comment or reaction to Governor Quarles' reaction?
Yeah, I don't have anything on that for you, but this obviously just happened a couple of hours ago, and so we're certainly thankful to Randy Corlez for his service, and I'm sure the president will engage with his senior economic team and in a careful and thoughtful process to find a replacement.
Do you see any link? You now have 3 spots to fill over the coming months aside from Chairman Powell. Is there any link between the number of vacancies and your decision whether to keep the chair? In other words, does having an opportunity to remake the board without switching the chair factor into the president's decision at all?
Oh, I'm not going to go into what the president, how is he's making his decision. All I can say is that this is incredibly important to the president, and he's taking this very seriously.
Is this a days, weeks, or months thing?
I don't have a timeline. I know this is an important question. I know you guys are so into it. I know. All right.
Thank you.
I promise. As soon as we know, we'll share that information. Go ahead.
When you look at the situation with the vote on the bipartisan infrastructure the other night, there were a handful of progressives who voted against it. They explained their reasons. Going into Build Back Better, there is no margin among Democrats, really just a couple of votes that you could possibly lose in the House, none in the Senate. What